my Homesteader family, welcome back to the journey. Welcome to this edition of the Sunday Monday vlog. It is green here. The grass needs to be mowed. So that's going to be my task this upcoming week, is to get the grass mowed. And then I'm not doing too much else besides the gardening. I have the trench to dig if it's not hot here to run the new water line and just keep things moving as normal. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take you up first. I'm gonna show you what I did garden wise. The blackberry bush, now that I've decided to do the layering, I don't know if it's because of the layering, but since the vines have been down in the pots and I've done a lot more pots, the blackberry bush has just exploded. It's grown like a gigantic afro across the top. So let me take you up there real quick, ADT, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. And then I'll show you the garden pots that I did. But I'll tell you, I don't know if it's the layering, and if it is, you know, it's done awesome. It's growing long canes now. And then you can see this whole top. How the bush was all the way back, but the top now is just going sporadic. Growing like crazy. None of this was blocking the pathway except the 2 canes that I put in the pot. Now there's canes popping everywhere. So this was a new pot that I did. So that's a new layering. Same with this one. You can already see a little thing popping up right there. And then I did a whole bunch over here. So of course I had the 2 that I did here. And so they're still going. This was a new one. And then I had those 2 right there that had the green weeds or whatever growing in. And then I did 3 more pots right there. So that's all the pots that I had. And then I had bought a bunch of soil. And then, like I said, you can see how it's just a gigantic afro across the top there coming out. And the sides are just growing real thick now as well. But that's all the pots that I had. I didn't buy any new pots. I did buy more soil. I also bought that 6-foot planter. And this was here when I bought the restaurant. It was sitting over here. So I went ahead, got enough dirt to fill all these up. And then I had a little dirt left over, which I went ahead and brought this over from the homestead. Doesn't fill to the top, but it gives me something. So I went ahead and threw collard greens in that one. And then these black and brown pots, that one, and then these 5. And this is what I planted first. And then I planted these. And you can see already the cucumbers are the very first things popping up. So I have a whole bunch of them coming up. And the reason why I did them along that edge, they're only along that very edge there, is because I'm going to vine them all the way up all this fencing. So that way I have the cucumbers hanging. The whole front, in front of the cucumbers, is beets. That's salad bowl greens. That's black seeded Simpson, premier kale, butter crunch lettuce, and then these are all different things from butternut squash to zucchini to Roma tomato to jalapenos to wonder peppers, which are bell peppers. And then I did 4 cayenne peppers, and then I also did some spaghetti squash. And then over here, like I said, I did the collard greens. This is the Waltham broccoli. I did purple kohlrabi, white kohlrabi, green beans, Brussels sprouts, yellow squash, and last but not least, cauliflower. The reason I chose all these is because here in Arkansas, I have long enough growing season to do all this. I can't do pumpkins and watermelons and all that this late. I would have had to do that earlier, along with a lot of the different spices. So that's what I have going on there. And then, like I said, you can see how tall the grass is. I've got to mow the yard. So that's going to happen this week, and then it's just continuing to do that. So my headline for this week's video on how things can change overnight go through multiple meanings. So 1, I watered my plants last night. the garden beds. And as you see, today I wake up and I've got cucumber sprouts. So things can change overnight and happen overnight. And that doesn't mean just gardening. That means life in general. So, for a lot of you, you may think that you have a steady job, you think you have steady income, you think you have a steady relationship, and overnight these things can change. These things can flip you upside down and you not know what's going on. And that's what kind of happened to me yesterday. So, for those of you that don't know, I did an owner finance on my ranch in Colorado to a family that wanted to homestead, get chickens, get goats. They were going to build a house, everything else. They ended up earlier this year going through a bad divorce, and they're still going through the bad divorce. And debt is being incurred. Along with the debt being incurred, he's a builder in Colorado Springs, and business is going down. And with everything piling up, I was now informed Saturday that when I should have been paid this past Wednesday for my mortgage payment, that he doesn't have the funds to pay me. So this is how my day is being changed overnight and how everything changes overnight. Because that $1,800 roughly a month that I have coming in from Colorado to pay my mortgage for me lending the money, I'm not getting right now. So not only am I not paying my credit cards now, once again, now I'm going back into credit card debt, but I had planned to pay a little bit of interest on my credit cards anyhow, because I went ahead and bought the planter pot, the soil, been buying fencing. So I was already anticipating racking up a little bit more on my credit cards. However, I was counting that I was going to have that money to pay off, so that would leave me room on my credit cards. So the long and the short of it is I'm in a lull right now, so I won't be doing much. My Sunday, Monday vlog next week, I'm probably going to skip unless something changes, because unless he gets one of his customers to pay, or he signs new building contracts and gets the upfront money, I won't be getting my payment, which my animal feed for this month is $2,600. And so that $1,800 doesn't even cover my feed bill for the animals. So that's coming out of my regular money that I have coming in for me to pay my utilities, phone bill, truck insurance, and all that type of stuff. So I was just getting into the spot of success the last 3 months where I got the credit cards paid off. You saw I've been buying fencing, I've been buying pressure treated poles, now getting into the gardening. I was getting so excited to get things going for the homestead, and now that all is changing for the moment. So I'm not sure what the future holds at this moment. I'm not sure how everything's going to play out. I have a couple ideas of things I can do to try to weigh things out for a bit. Worst case scenario is I'm going to have to end up getting rid of all the animals, minus the dogs. I'll keep the dogs because I can pay for their feed out of my regular money. But now everything's tossed up in the air. Of course, if he gets money from either a new job or current people that owe him money and he pays me, or I can find somebody that buys the rental house, or the ranch sells in Colorado and then they got the money to pay me back. It's all liquid. Nothing is solid right now. There's no solid ground. There's no solid foundation. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be maintaining the yard here, mowing here. I'm going to be mowing the yard in Marshall like I've been doing, gardening, and then once a day going over feed the animals. Besides that, I'm not going to be making 2 to 3 trips over to the homestead. I'm going to start cutting back on my gas trips. I'm going to go into prepper mode in a way. So for any of you that have been a prepper, of course, you prep for different situations and scenarios. And because like I've showed you, my toilet paper stash, my Kleenexes, the paper towels, the canned goods, the ramen noodles, the rice-a-ronis, the pastas, the beans, all the food that I have, all the surplus dog food that I've been stocking up over the months and things like that, then I'm going to go ahead and go into the prepper mindset that I can't go to a store and then live off of what I have here at the restaurant and not spend any money to try to cut down any future expense over the next couple months if I have to go into survival mode after the prepper mode. Prepper mode, you know, you prepare for things like this, and that's like, I'll take you inside real quick. I'll show you what I mean, like with the dog food, because we know I can't let them dogs starve, because we all love those Anatolian Shepherds. But I can't necessarily go out and buy a whole bunch of dog food every month for $30 a bag and stack up enough to feed them for a while. Yes, I'm coming in. You hear me. I know. Hey. What we grumpy about? What we grumpy about? Huh? You hear Daddy talking? Yeah. So, let me get over there where the dog food is, and I'll show you what I mean. Now, what I mean by my food is I have all this food I can eat on. I have all that food I can eat on. All that food I can eat on. Of course, I don't have a kitchen to cook and everything, but I've got food that I can eat, cans and jars, stuff like that. And then, of course, everything I have over there. Of course, all the stacks of water, stacks of soda, and then also, now that the snowball business is closed down, I also have all that water, jugs of water, and that stuff to survive on for a bit. What size T-post and type of fencing do you prefer? I'm changing on my fencing, so give me 1 second. I'll come back around to the fencing. And then for the dogs, right, Mickey Mouse? For the big old dogs, you can see I'm not shy on dog food. But this is what preppers do. Even though I'm not being a doomsday prepper where I'm trying to, think I got years worth of food together, I can go ahead and add a bag this month, bag next month, so on and so forth. So I'll go into the prepper mode for now. I'll eat on what I have. The dog's got plenty of food. I don't have to spend money in town. Only thing I'll have to spend money for is gas, because it's 6 miles to the homestead, 6 miles back, going back and forth. Yes, and hyperinflation is making food extremely high priced. And so the bad part about going through all my stuff is I'm going to take it down to nothing. So then to buy back in and to resupply is going to cost a lot more. But luckily, every month I buy 30, 40 things of ramen or the noodle or the rice cups, flat of canned goods, whatever I can afford, spare money to always stock up and have things. So for your question, Chris, what I prefer to do is depending on the animals. So because I had the Anatolian Shepherds, I was getting the 6-foot no-climb horse fence. This is Red Brand from Tractor Supply. I also have some rolls that aren't Red Brand, but it's the same fencing. It's just another name. I was going to do that around the entire homestead, but now these rolls for 100 feet are over $400 for a single roll. Over where you see the green cloth and the blue cloth is the 4-foot sheep and goat fence. That's also Red Brand, and I'm using that now around the perimeter because I'm doing the three-tier fence system. So I'm doing the brush fence on the outside, I'm doing the 4-foot sheep and goat fence, and then I'm doing the electric fence on the inside of that. So the dogs don't like the electric. So they hit the electric and they stop. If they go through the electric, they're going to hit the hardwire 4-foot fence. Now, because I'm taking my T-post at a 45-degree angle away from the fence, the dogs won't try to jump because there's that dip, and then there's the brush pile on the other side of the fence. So I'm doing that because the sheep and goat fence, it's 4 foot by 330 foot of roll, and I think that's now, I believe, 420 or 424 a roll. So that is getting expensive as well, but I'm getting 330 feet versus 100 feet. So I don't have the protection of having the 6 foot fence that I would like to have. But since I'm doing a 3-tier fence system, I don't have to worry about having it 6 foot because nothing's going to try to climb over the brush pile, and none of the animals on the inside are going to try to get out the fence because the electric, they touch that electric wire and boom, they get that zap and they're done. They back away. Those fencing rolls, two to 300. No, they're higher than 2 to 300. The 6 foot fence is, like I said, I think 420, and then the sheep and goat fence just went up to like $400 or just over $400. So that's no longer cheap either. None of the fencing is. I used to get the 6 foot rolls, 100 foot long for, I think, $299 when I first started buying it when I was doing the ranch out in Colorado. Yeah, Spam packs of Gatorade. Well, see, I don't do packs of Gatorade, so I'll show you what. Okay, I hit the power button. Hopefully, I'm back.